I've forgotten how I start my videos. Hello. Hello, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about my February TBR. Now, I am not one to stick to monthly TBRs. In fact, I think one of my goals was to not slip into monthly TBRs. But I want to make a monthly TBR. I don't know if this will last for the rest of the year. I didn't make a monthly TBR for January, but I want to make one for February because I have some plans and I thought that you might want to know about them. Number one of those plans is Polarthon is happening in February, the week from the 5th to the 11th, the first full Monday to Sunday week of February. I have done an announcement video for that. I'm very excited about that week, so if you haven't seen the announcement video, feel free to go and check that out. Week-long readathon, charitable cause, all about polar fantasy. I will link it down below. But I have a couple of books that I want to read for that, and also just some other books that I do plan to get to in February, so I thought I could make a bit of a reading plans video. If I don't stick to it, it's no biggie, but I thought that we could do this together. So basically, back to doing MBRs. But I'm actually feeling good about this, but not good enough to call it a TBR. Anyway, do you want to know what I'm reading for Polarthon? Let's get started. I am going to be kicking off Polarthon with The Cry of the Ice Mark by Stuart Hill. I have not heard anything about this book anywhere, ever. But it is a polar fantasy. It is about the young queen of the Ice Mark. She's a new young queen, and I believe her queendom is under threat. The most terrible imperial invasion her tiny kingdom has ever known. So we've got a queendom under threat. So because her queendom is in turmoil, she needs some new allies as a new young queen. But her options are ones that she is not sure she can trust, such as the son of a white witch, the wolf folk, and giant talking snow leopards from across the icy plains. I don't know if anything else has ever sounded quite so polar fantasy. Queen of the Ice Mark, giant talking snow leopards, son of a white witch, and wolf folk. Plus my buzzwords of queendom, not kingdom, but queendom on the brink of war, turmoil, risky situations. Sounds like this could be a win for Polarthon for me, so I'm going to give this one a go. And I will get my team's bonus point for the foiled cover. If I was on Beth's team, I would also get that blue point, but I'm not, so I don't get that. I just get my team's snowball point. If you don't know what I'm talking about, feel free to check out that announcement video. So yeah, got some foil on there as a win for me too. The next book I hope to read for Polarthon is The City of Stardust by Georgia Summers. Again, we've got that foil. This is the Fairy Loot edition, and it's gorgeous holographic foil throughout. And I'll be totally honest with you, I don't know anything about what this is about, other than it is a snowy setting, there is foil. I'm pretty sure the author lived in Russia, spent most of her life living across the world, including Russia, Colombia, and the US. So she's lived in Russia, and I think there is Russian inspiration in this. Okay, so our main character is a daughter from a family where they see their brightest and best disappear, taken as punishment for a crime that no one remembers. Taken by a woman named Penelope, who never ages, never gets sick, and never forgives their debt, whatever their debt is. 10 years ago, Violet Everly, our main character, her mother left to break the curse and has never returned, and now Violet must find her mother, or she will be taken in her place by this Penelope woman. Her hunt leads her into the seductive, magical underworld of power-hungry scholars, fickle gods, and monsters bent on revenge. Ooh. Tied to a very literal deadline, Violet will travel to the edges of the world to find her mother, and the key to the City of Stardust, where the Everly story began. I don't know what about that is polar then, or Russian inspired. I just thought that it was. But I'm excited to read it nonetheless. It's definitely got a very snowy looking cover on there, so fingers crossed, but it definitely has the foiling, which I want, and gives me Polarthon vibes. This book is gorgeous, and the Under the Dust jacket isn't the prettiest I've seen from Fairy Loot, but it's still quite pretty. So they are my two main choices for Polarthon. If I manage to read more than that, which I do hope I will, then it will probably be mood picks, but they are my main plan for the week of Polarthon. Outside of that, another book that I really would like to get to in February, or really must get to in February, is Night's Shadow by Sebastien de Castell. This currently stands to be my favourite book of all time. I have only read it once, so I am very interested to see if this stands to remain my favourite book of all time on reread. I loved this book so much when I first read it. I read it in a day, which is impressive for a book of this size. It wasn't even like a 24-hour readathon, I just couldn't put it down. At the point of filming this, I am starting my reread of Traitor's Blade after filming this, and then I will be tackling my reread of Night's Shadow in February. This is for my Patreon buddy read. We'll be working our way through the Greatcoat series for the next few months. This series is about a trio of Greatcoats, and the Greatcoats were the king's magistrates before the king was murdered. They went round and upheld the king's law. They weren't knights, they weren't lawyers, but they were justice. They were the magistrates. But when the king was murdered, the Greatcoats fell and are now looked down on with very little respect. But each of the Greatcoats was given one final wish from their king before he was murdered, and this is the story of Falcio, Brassy, and Kest, and them fulfilling their last wishes of the king. It's brutal, it's grim, it's funny, it's Sebastien de Castell. I love it. Will I love it as much on reread? Stay tuned to find out, I guess. And if you're a patron of my Ace Trainer or above tier who wants to take part in the buddy read of this, that'll be a fun time. I'm looking forward to it. Next up is a book that I have shocked myself in the fact that I've not already got to this. I should have read this last year, really, when it came out, and that is Art of Destiny by Wesley Chu. I have just finished my reread of Art of Prophecy, like today. Just finished my reread of Art of Prophecy, and I was desperate to reread that before I dive into this, so I do not want to leave it too long before actually diving in to the Art of Destiny, the second book in the War Arts saga. I believe this is going to be a trilogy. Originally, it was just a duology, but I do believe this is going to be a trilogy, so there will be another one later on. Art of Prophecy was one of my favourite books of last year. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I very much enjoyed it again on reread, and am very intrigued, now that I've just refreshed my memory on what happens at the end of Art of Prophecy, very intrigued to see one particular character's fate and what happens to him, because he's got himself in a situation that I, as the reader, am aware is a bit dodgy. He is not. I'm intrigued to see how that's going to go. But Art of Prophecy, if you haven't heard me talk about it before, is about a young boy called Jean who is the centre of a prophecy where he is supposed to kill the king of a neighbouring kingdom, and he will save his people. There is a religion centred all around how he will be this great warrior and kill the king. However, just because that prophecy is given does not mean that you don't have to work for it, and our second main character, Taishi, comes in to teach Jean a thing or two about how to actually be this prophesized hero. And then the prophecy comes tumbling down because someone else kills the king. So what happens to him then? I really love this story. I know that a lot of people find the main character kind of insufferable, and he is for the most part, but there is so much character development, in my opinion. I really enjoy it. It's got that school setting for a little while as well, but also we have a really miserable old woman and a spoiled brat kid who's got a lot of learning to do, and kind of an unlikely gang of, I won't call them heroes because they're really not, but an unlikely crew on a bit of a mission to keep themselves alive for a little bit. And as I say, one character finds themselves in a very bizarre situation at the end of that one, and I am excited to see what happens to him. So I need to get to this one sometime soon, ideally whilst the end of Art of Prophecy is still fresh in my mind. And then finally, the last book I have planned for February is The Will of the Many by James Islington. I feel like I'm kind of on a bit of a kick with getting to some of these books that I desperately should have last year. Like, I've finished a few of my priority reads in January, and I've got Art of Destiny on this already, and now The Will of the Many here as well. This is one that, again, I should have read last year. I'm amazed I haven't already got to. It is about time. James Islington, every time. James Islington is the author of the Lycanius trilogy, which was one of my favourites from last year as well. Absolutely loved it. And I am very intrigued to see if I love his next series anywhere near as much. This is book 1 of whatever this series is going to be called, The Will of the Many. Every time I pick this up, I forget everything about what it's about. I know that it's Roman-inspired, and it is set in a school setting. But our main character has been sent to the school setting to do some sort of investigation. I've been sent to the academy to find answers, to solve a murder, to search for an ancient weapon, to uncover secrets that may tear the Republic apart. I think I kind of want to go into this one with a bit of that mystery still intact. I know there's a murder, I know there's secrets, I know there's an academy. I don't know much more than that, and I kind of want to keep it that way, because I feel like the air of mystery will be kind of beneficial to the reading experience here. But I've loved what I've read from James Islington before, so it's about time I get to this one. It's been on my shelf for too long already, so it's going on the stack. And there we have it. That is my stack of planned reads for February. It's not enormous, but it's enough, and I think it's enough for me to want to stick to this. This, to me, is very much a plan that I've set in stone. So am I comfortable calling this a TBR reading plans? I don't know yet. But I'm quite comfortable and confident in getting to all of these, and I'm excited to get to these. So fingers crossed it will shape up to be a good reading month. Just gonna put these down here. But yeah, fingers crossed it'll be a good reading month for me, and hopefully I'll have time to mood read some other bits alongside this as well, especially in the week of Polarthon, because I would like to get to more than 2 books in that week. But yeah, I am excited for my February reading. I feel like my January reading went quite well, and I'm kind of inspired to do a wrap-up and actually talk about the books that I've read this month, which is a feeling I haven't had in a long time. So stay tuned for a monthly wrap-up. Is that something I bring back as a monthly thing? I don't know. Will I continue to be inspired to make those? I don't know, but stay tuned for that. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me for a little bit here to talk about my reading plans. I hope your February reads go well. Let me know down below if you're participating in Polarthon and what you plan on reading for that. But yeah, that's everything for now. So thanks for hanging out, and I will see you in whatever comes next. Bye!